I am Jason J. Rock Houston. This is Guitarist TV, and we're talking with guitarist Thaen Rasmussen of TRP, the Thaen Rasmussen Project. Now, Thaen, this is the second interview you've done with me. Last time we did it kind of old school way over the telephone. This is the new way we're doing it. It's like I was telling you before we went on air, it's been a lot of fun. I actually,
Right on.
I'm not too tech savvy. I have a friend, though. He really encouraged me to kind of learn how to do this, and I must thank him because it's been a lot of fun. But anyways, so let's talk about you. Some people may know you previously. You were a member of Vicious Drummers and Anvil. So let's talk a little bit about that first.
Anvil chorus, not Anvil.
Yeah,
But yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That is a slight difference.
Yeah,
but yes, yeah. I was in well, Anvil chorus was in previous years, most notably, I suppose, in the 80s, the beginning.
Did you play on any albums with the band? Were you just in the touring lineup?
Well, you're speaking of?
I'm saying with Anvil, were you, did you play on any albums? Did you play with them live?
Oh, no, it was, I started it, and it kind of emerged with another band called Leviathan, which became the Anvil chorus that it was. And we did a single in '82.
Okay.
Blondes and Black Once Again thing, and then we really only ended up doing a demo, which was a pretty long demo. It was like 16 songs, but and we were trying to get some interest, but.
Okay. And as far as your time in Vicious Rumors, did you leave that band because you kind of wanted to do your own thing, or let's talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, toward the end, I was in it from late 2006 to 2016, off and on. Yeah. So there was a couple of off spots. And
yeah, okay. And let's talk about TRP now. That's what you're doing now, of course.
Yeah.
Rasmussen Project. That's your you consider it a band, or would you say this is a solo effort?
No, I think of it more. It's a project, as I call it. But I think of it more of a band effort.
And the reason I kind of agree with that is what I dig about this is I dig the fact that you're doing songs with vocals. You could go the typical route and say, okay, I'm known for my guitar playing, so I'm just going to put out a guitar album, and that would be great too.
Right.
But I think what makes this so cool to me is because they are vocal songs. Like when I listen to songs, typically I listen to what the lyrics are and try to figure out what the story is behind the song. And so there's that aspect of it. So like, were these all songs that were newly written for this project? Any songs have been written and laying around for a while?
Well, actually, there was a couple that I dug up and rewrote, kind of thing. Just because I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you think it's good and it has some potential.
That's my point I was getting ready to make, because I know many people that, just to give you an example, I interviewed John Corabi once, and he was telling me that his album that was out at the time, that he had a song on there that was like 20 years old that he finally found a place to put it. And he's like, and I agree with what he was saying, kind of like what you said, that, if a song was written 20 years ago, and it was a good song, it's still a good song.
Yeah, it's better than leaving it on the shelf where nobody hears it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the point of that.
And,
but other stuff was new as well. I mean, as it went.
And the reason I asked too is because not to just make that point, but also because it's amazing in listening to the album. It sounds like the album flows really well. It sounds like you'd never know that some songs are older than others. You'd think that they were. It seems like the album has a real nice flow. Seems like back when I was growing up, for example, one of my favorite albums, like Toys in the Attic by Aerosmith. Those songs all sound like they were written to be on the same album, if you know what I mean. And yet, that's not something that's really needed these days. But it's just amazing that the album flows so well.
Yeah, well, thanks, and I think it does as well. And it's not all, it has it goes up and down,
Yeah.
and
There's very different.
interesting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's kind of it's got elements hard rock. It's a little closer to metal. I mean, full tilt to me that's heavy. It's heavy, aggressive. It's melodic at the same time, and it's just shredding guitar. That's if you love shredding guitar, you're gonna love that track.
Right on. Yeah, I like to keep it melodic too, and I am very into the vocal situation, which I
Yeah, yeah.
kept that in mind when doing all these tunes.
Let's talk about your singer
Yeah.
and how you found him because I mean, again, another thing that was really impressive about the album is how well his vocals and your guitar playing just mesh so well together.
Yeah, I think it's magical when that happens, and when it seems like it's a fit,
Yeah.
and yeah, he's I've known him for a lot of years. Tori Carstensen, he was in a band called My Victim back in the day, and up to not too recently actually, but and yeah, no, he's really great, and I think there is a match,
Yeah.
for the sound together that
Yeah,
when we
and
both sing.
you're of course from San Francisco area, and I think another thing we discussed in a previous interview was if you look at the history of the music scene of San Francisco, it's been all over the place throughout the history of music. I mean, you go all the way back to the '60s; they had everything from Creedence Clearwater Revival, Jefferson Starship, the Grateful Dead, and then you move into the '80s, and they had the great '80s metal thrash scene, and they've had a little bit of everything, over the years.
Yeah, it has been a journey, I think.
Yeah,
We caught the with Anvil Chorus, we kind of caught a good wave at the beginning of the '80s, kind of thing. They started doing rock shows, and
yeah,
that got us going, and we had a little thrash to us, a little bit, but
yeah.
not. I don't know if you've heard much of it. There's an album we did in 2009,
Uh,
and check it
I'll,
out if you get
I'll
a
have to
chance.
check it out. To be honest, I haven't
Yeah,
had a chance, but I'm pretty impressed with
yeah,
TRP. I mean, one thing that's all over the album, I think, obviously besides your guitar playing and the vocals, is the songwriting is very strong. So, did you and the I'm curious, like, did you write the songs before the vocalist was involved? Is there any co-writing between you guys?
there was a little bit, but I mean, I would basically, yes, put
Yeah,
together the tunes, and they did change here and there, little bits and pieces, when the vocals started happening. So, he definitely had some input, but it seemed to flow pretty easily,
yeah.
you know.
And so, what was that like once you've written the songs, and then once you get to the point that okay, it's time to go in the recording studio? Were you guys in the same studio, or did you do it the modern way where everybody has a home studio and everybody kind of
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, the latter, actually,
yeah?
yeah. Everybody has their own system, and
Was
you
that
just kind of,
like having to do with COVID and all the lockdowns, or just because of a convenience thing?
no, yeah, we did that prior to that,
Yeah, yeah,
for sure. It was just, it becomes easier,
sure, sure.
you don't have to drive a certain amount
It's
of time,
amazing if you
or
think,
whatever. I mean,
yeah.
the technology is cool that way.
Technology, let's talk about that for a minute. I mean, I've heard people recording albums on their cell phone. It's just amazing to think, And I've talked to other guys that, each guy in the band lives in a different part of the world, and yet they're able to make a record together.
Yeah. If you can just record and either send sessions or send files, and they put in their own sessions, and then back and forth, and it has made it convenient,
And it's a great
and
way
then
to
you
do
talk
things.
about it.
Yeah, for financial reasons too. I mean, you remember back in the days. I mean, a band to even get a major recording, first of all, you had to have a record deal. You had to have something back give you money to go in the professional studio and cut a record. It doesn't really need to be that way. And I think
It still took a
okay,
little bit of that at
yeah,
the end,
yeah, yeah,
because I wanted to have somebody do it, which was Will Storkson,
uh,
who is a real pro and killer. And he also played in a band with Tori, My
okay,
Victim,
yeah,
and so they had a history, which
yeah,
was cool,
yeah,
and also Will had a history with Carter, the drummer,
yeah, Yeah.
So it seemed to work out really well that way, but it costs money
Yeah.
for that.
Oh, sure.
More money than we did at the time
But
doing the
again,
hunts.
at the end, you get a quality product, right? And
That's right. Then that was the important thing, you know.
yeah,
I
and
mean, I can do a darn good demo,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. I mean, some demos sound as good as anything, on a major recording. It just depends on
Yeah,
who's doing it. And
that's true.
to give people kind of the backstory of the interview here, I got to real quick, Thaen, apologize to you and your singer because, as you know, you previously done I wrote up a review for CD for knac.com, and my
Right.
mistake, I misspelled the singer's name, but I love the fact that you were so on it because let's be honest. I mean, it's important to get people's names right,
Yeah.
and so I had no problem, making the correction, and it took a while to get it, but I'm glad we were able to do it, and I'm just bringing it
I
up because
appreciate it.
I'm just bringing it up because it showed it taught me something, but I always knew anyways. You know, um, when doing a review or something like that, it's very important to get people's name right. And of course, we all make we all make mistakes, but that showed me too that you're a guy that also believes in giving credit where credit is due. And what I mean by that is like you're saying,
Yes.
hey, my singer, he's a very big part of this album, and we'd appreciate it, and I understood that, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just think it was so cool that you spoke up for your singer and say, hey, could you do me this little favor? And I said, sure, no problem.
Yeah, and I kept poking you. Sorry about that.
No, but again, it was a cool little backstory to the interview. But
Yeah, yeah.
and doing stuff like this, we learn along the way as we go, right? and
Exactly.
it'll teach me
Yeah,
to pay
yeah.
more attention to what I type, or read
And
it.
he was happy that I made it happen. You know, it's
Yeah,
like, oh,
if
cool.
anything,
He's all thank you.
if anything, we talk about him a little bit in the interview, so people are going to know who he is. And I gotta say, he's got
Awesome
a great
singer, man.
he's got a great vocal sound. I mean, I'd say he
Yeah,
reminds
yeah.
me a little of Glenn Hughes, but not that he's a clone of Glenn Hughes. He's just kind of got that vibe, and he's got a great original sound.
I love Glenn Hughes, and so there's no problem there. I don't think he has a problem with that.
Yeah.
That guy's amazing.
Yeah.
And Tori's killer. So
And so
definitely,
again, he's a big part of this as you are. But
yes,
like, were there
yes,
other
yes.
musicians on the album, or did you play most of the instruments yourself?
No, I played all the guitars and bass out of necessity.
Yeah.
And then I had a couple of keyboard players, Phil Bennett,
Yeah.
which is a brother of Joe Bennett from Anvil Chorus, and
Okay.
and Phil's also he plays in the Starship with Mickey Thomas.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And another friend of mine, John Simon, from an older band that I played with in the turn of the '90s.
Oh wow.
And
Another song I really
so
like.
yeah, everybody put some cool stuff down, made it happen.
Yeah, and then the Fire Burns, to me, well written, powerful guitar playing. It's kind of got a haunting sound to it, and yet it's still melodic, and vocals and guitar again really mesh well together. And again, that's a theme throughout the album. As far
Right
as
on. Have you seen the new videos out for that one, by the way?
I haven't seen that, but I'll tell you what we'll do. Once we post the interview, we'll post the new video so people can see that.
Yeah.
Rise Above is another great track, well written, sounds like modern rock, great melody, guitar is on fire. I mean, again, that's a theme that kind of runs out throughout the album. As great as the guitar playing is, I mean, there's melody throughout all the songs, even some of the heavier songs. There's just great melody that runs throughout the songs.
Yeah, that was one of Tori's tunes actually that we brought in.
And then you mentioned Full Tilt. That was I believe that was the first video, and again, that's kind of what you launched the album with.
Well, actually, Surreal was the first one we released.
Okay.
Video wise, the second one was Full Tilt.
Full Tilt, though, kind of, I don't know, kind of futuristic. It's just got a great vibe. Talk a little bit about the making of the video.
Well, basically it came down to either doing just having a wallpaper up there and playing the song, kind of situation, or doing something else. And I worked with John Simon on that, one of the keyboard players, one of the main keyboard players, and you know, we did some manipulation of footage, and try to keep the cost down, but still make it somewhat
See, that's
interesting to look at.
I was watching the video, and to me, it was really professional looking. It looked like something you would have seen on MTV back in the day. And
yes, when they played music videos.
I bet you could flip by MTV today, you wouldn't even know you were on it, because it's more of a it's turned into more of a TV network. They don't even play music or of any kind. It's amazing what it's turned into.
I have not seen MTV in a long time. I don't know what they're doing now.
Yeah, it's like last I seen it was reality TV, but yeah, you wouldn't even know you were on it. That's a safe bet. Now, you also mentioned that the latest video for Rise Above. I'll have to check that out. I haven't seen it.
Oh,
but,
Fire Burns Blue. Actually.
Fire Burns. Okay. So how would you compare that to shooting some of the other videos? I mean, same process or different concept, obviously. So.
It's pretty much the same concept. I basically, give artistic license to John, and he does a pretty nice job. We talk about it, and
and see,
we're working on another.
Music is, there's a bands do still put out music videos, but not like they used to. And YouTube is very interesting because that's where a lot of people find their music today. And you're lucky.
Sure, yeah.
You're lucky when people go to YouTube that they play your song all the way through. And it seems like people are really reacting to this album in a positive way.
Well, I hope so. Yeah, short attention span theater kind of seems to rule. So, but yeah.
How have people been responding when they come to the live shows? Have you done many live shows to support the album since it's been out?
None yet.
Oh wow.
No.
Okay.
No. Actually, I'm working on that situation. I want to do a record release show.
That would be fun.
Just to get started, So I'm working on the lineup, which is obviously Tori Carstensen on vocals and myself, and also I'm bringing in Stephen Goodwin, killer bass player who I played with in Vicious Rumors for some years.
Yeah.
And the drummer situation I'm still juggling with, but I think I've gotten that nailed down, and we just have to figure out the venue and how to do it. And Stephen plays with a band called From Hell.
Okay.
They're local, and they're a little heavier than we are.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm not about making a show where everything sounds the same. Let's go back to the older days of Bill Graham and like throw some stuff around. Different. That's I think that's cool, and I kind of miss that. So
sure.
Yeah.
And so let's talk a little bit about the internet. What's that been like for you? Because you've had a very very long music career, as you kind of point out throughout the interview. So I was curious, this is a very different world these days. Doing stuff like this on the internet, like I was explaining, this kind of new for me too, learning how to do these Zoom interviews. And I mean, there's a time when, like I said, a band would have to have a record deal. Not a lot of bands even have a record deal today. They just release their stuff independently. And so what has that been like communicating with your fans online? That's got to be a different kind of thing for you.
Yeah, things have changed for sure. I think it's a double-edged sword. The technology, and there's more people doing stuff because they don't have to rely on it on record companies, and it's not necessarily all good.
Of course.
not that it was before, but it seems a bit crowded. These days.
Like with anything, there's good with the bad, but but what's cool about it is a guy like you can get his music out there to enough people to hopefully hear and respond to. You can put a band out there together and go out there and try to do your live thing. Like I said, once upon a time that used to be really dependent on if the band even had a deal or not. And that's the cool thing about it now. You have a little more freedom, a little more control. To do things your way. And again, of course, if you have the back of a big label, who doesn't want that,
Yeah. There's pluses to that, I suppose.
And so I guess a good thing to ask you, who were some of your guitar heroes growing up, the guys that influenced you?
Uh, well, back from the early days of just, I mean, I grew up with a lot of music in the house.
Yeah.
My dad played a lot of cool stuff. And I think earlier on, Hendrix was like, whoa, wow, look at that, when I was a kid.
Well,
And
Hendrix, he's like kind of a triple threat. I mean, he's a great singer, songwriter, guitar player, no doubt. I mean, and if you look at any of
yeah,
the videos online, what I loved is, I mean, stuff like not only just setting the guitar on fire, playing the guitar with his teeth. I mean,
yeah,
he was physical,
it was definitely crazy for the time.
Yeah.
It had people just kind of going,
I mean, you even go
at,
back and you look at what he did at Woodstock, playing the national anthem. I mean, nobody had really done it like that until him. And then thousands of people have
right.
been trying to copy it ever since.
Yeah, it was pretty new at the time, right?
Yeah, but
And
that's
then there was other guitar players later on, like, I mean, I was a Zeppelin head when I was a teenager, so like Jimmy Page,
or
Jeff Beck,
and, yeah.
you
Well,
know,
Jeff Beck, who just passed away. Wow,
yeah,
I cannot
yeah,
believe he was 78 years old. You look at the guy, man, he looked like the fountain of youth.
yeah. I know. I just saw him a couple of years ago
And he
at a
just,
show. Yeah,
he just
it was
recently
great.
passed.
But
He
I did see him at my first my first big car, or my first or second big concert, Day on the Green.
Oh,
It
wow.
was
Wow.
it was the Wired tour.
Oh, wow.
That was great.
How lucky were you to be there? Yeah. Yeah.
That was, and Journey played with prior to Steve Perry.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was that older stuff, the
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
three records kind of thing. And that really inspired me too. And that brings me to Neil Sean, who I love,
Yeah.
over the years. And he definitely had an inspiration for me,
Yeah, that's a great list of influence. Neil Sean too. Not just for guitar playing, but look at what a great songwriter he is. In his own right. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, the list could go probably on, I suppose, but those are a couple of the basics.
And hearing that, it's not surprising, to put on this TRP album and hear those various different influences because, like I said, a lot of it is kind of it's kind of sounds really metal based kind of, but you got everything and you got a ton of melody. And I think besides, you could have put out an album, I'm sure, like a lot of guitar players, where it's nothing but guitar soloing nonstop, and it would have been good. But this is like I think a great balance, melody, well written songs, and the guitar is there.
Thank you. Yeah, that's just the way I'd rather do it. I mean, I used to be in instrumental guitar music years ago, but I'm not as much anymore. I'm more about songs,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'd like to do it that way,
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, there are plenty of guys that can do that, but I think like unless you're Joe Satriani or Steve Vai, who can they're really great at making every single tune have a life of its own. That's hard to do.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and you got to be into doing that,
yeah, yeah.
and
And
they're great, obviously.
I think there's room. There's room for everybody, and
Yeah,
that's why I think with the TRP album, you really kind of you shine throughout it. The vocalist shines, the whole band shines. It's a great album, and it's not like one of those albums where one great track. I think
thank
anybody
you.
could put on this album and they love everything on it, and that's as an artist, that's what you hope you accomplish.
That is true. Yeah, yeah, and I still hope.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Keep it going.
And the thing with that is this will now be the blueprint for whatever you do it follows. And do you think there will
Yeah.
be any pressure on that, or when you get ready to do album number, do you think it'll be more of a progression, or just kind of, well, we'll just go in and see what comes out?
Well, I have a good amount of tunes,
Yeah,
in the bag, and hopefully, we'll get to those soon. I'm
yeah.
kind of focused on this record still,
Of course, yeah.
but there is, a good amount of tunes, and I'd like to do another one
And
sure.
when I say, this is a blueprint for what follows, a lot of times you'll hear people talk about, a lot of times bands, they have their whole life to write the debut album, so to speak, or, like you look at a lot of great bands like Van Halen one, the first Aerosmith album. Just these are albums people hold up and they stand the test of time. And a lot of times
Yeah.
bands have what's called the sophomore jinx. Okay, can we follow up that killer debut with something that's just as good?
Well, especially when it's extraordinary,
Yeah.
and and it does really, really well. Then,
Mhm.
but it's always a progression, and
Of course, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it does make it harder, I
I mean,
suppose.
I think the
If
only
if you're shooting for that, trying to stay at
I
that
think the only band that
level.
I think the only band that can really get away with sounding the same, maybe, and they do a great job of it, is AC/DC.
Did
Yeah.
I lose you?
Well, I'm here. You're kind of freezing up, but yeah, we can get ready to wrap it up, Thane. I'd like to thank you for taking time to do this. It was great talking to you. I will let you know when the interview goes up. You're more than welcome to post on any of your sites. So thanks for doing this, and I want to give a shout out to the Lord of PR for setting this up. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Thaen? I guess we lost you, but it was great talking to you, and we will do it again. Okay, we got
I'll
you back.
hear
I
you.
lost you for a minute, but yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
this. Thanks for doing this, Thaen. Let's keep in touch. I'll let you know when the interview post next week, and I was thanking the Lord of PR for setting this up, and I've really enjoyed getting to know you. So let's definitely keep in touch, and we will do it again.
Yes, I appreciate it, man. Thanks, Jason.
Okay, anytime. Have a great day. Bye bye.
You too. Cheers.